Hello, everyone. Hello. It's back. Season 23-24. Not of the same old Arsenal, but of the football season. We're back. I can't believe it. I feel like I've never left because I've done so many shows during the summer. Chris and I have been on this podcast constantly that we've only had 2 weeks off, but hey ho, it's all good. Welcome to everyone in the chat room. Boys and girls, listen to me. You need to get your predictions ready of first, second, third, fourth, Champions League winners, FA Cup, League relegated. Okay. And we're going to talk about it later. Don't put them in there now. I'll tell you when later. But look who's back with me. It's lovely. The boys are back in town. I better not sing, honestly. To the right of me or the left, whatever way you're looking, is my boy Chris. How are you, darling?
I am good. I'm rocking what is now obviously a retro shirt because I'm not wearing new ones for this season coming because I don't really rate them. So I'm going to stick to the retro ones, thank you, but I'm good.
Good. Lovely to be back with you. And our boy Cookie. Hello, darling. Had a good summer?
Hello. I have indeed. To be honest, I'm quite looking forward to the hot weather coming to an end. Well, the limited hot weather. I don't know what it's like for you guys, but right here, right now, I'm sweating. So, I'm looking forward to actually raining and being quite cold.
God, really? We've only had 2 days of sun in the last month, and you want it to go rainy?
Too much for me. Too much.
Oh, my life. And tell everyone, you've got a new room. Look at your room.
Yeah, new room, new house. Things are going up in the world. The Same Old Arsenal podcast is, what can I say? It's paving the way for me to get the best out of life. So, I've made my own little clock end here. Got the clock above me. Got the retro hybrid to my right. And, hopefully a few more bits on the wall and maybe we can get a bit of a Same Old Arsenal artwork up there too.
Do you know what? It's lovely to be back on a podcast with both of you because it's been a very strange summer with Chris, you doing your one in, one out, one bangs, which has gone brilliant. So for anyone that wants to listen, they're all on audio and YouTube. And I think I did Talking Arsenal or In Conversation with, I don't know. We had such brilliant guests on all through the summer. So I think on behalf of Chris and I and James, we'd like to thank all of you for listening, watching, commenting as well. But the real fun starts now. Here we go. Back with the football season. We're all going to the Emirates on Saturday, aren't we, boys?
Yep, we will be there. Early morning one as well. Lunchtime. I don't really like that.
I do.
The old-fashioned 3 p.m.
I don't mind an early one. You get up there at a good time. You can have a spot of breakfast, enjoy the game. You're back at a reasonable time. I don't mind at 12:30.
All right, Grandad.
Yeah, well, what can I say, mate? This is my life now. Chris. Mortgage payments, electricity bills.
What is wrong with him? He wants the rain to come back, moaning about bills. He's like, you're the old one and we're the young one. Honestly.
I've just built too much flat pack furniture these past couple of days. It's just sucking my soul away.
I think you need to come back, be on the podcast, which is brilliant. We'll get you back into the Arsenal, that's for sure. But boys, what I do want to talk about is both of you were at the Charity Shield and I wasn't. So, James, how was it for you? Where were you sitting? What was it like?
It was amazing. I was buzzing to go to Wembley, to be quite honest. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it was the first time for me that I'd been to Wembley since the Charity Shield back in 2017, which really coincidentally, exact same score and the exact same score on the penalty shootout, which is just, that's crazy. And I think that might have been the last time that Arsenal were at Wembley with fans, because obviously we didn't get fans in the 2020 FA Cup semi-final and final, and then the Charity Shield that year. But I thought the atmosphere was incredible in the Arsenal end. I was sat in the lower tier, which was right behind the goal. And for me, I always sit in the upper. That's where my season ticket is, in the North Bank. I just wanted a change, to be honest. And I really liked the people I was sitting with. I didn't know them, but, it was a really good atmosphere. Stood up the whole time, which, you don't really traditionally do in the upper tier. So, yeah, it was a really nice day out, really good atmosphere. I would have been gutted if we'd have lost it. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about the game in detail, but I thought we really did deserve to win that game. I thought we played really well, and it's been a bit of a topsy-turvy pre-season, but everything just really clicked after that first 20 minutes. We really came into our own and played the sort of football we were so used to last campaign. So, yeah, really good day, really good football, got what we deserved at the end, and perfect start to the season.
It was. We actually discussed it on Sunday night with Albert and James, and obviously 3 of us weren't there, so we had the atmosphere through the TV. We really enjoyed it. I loved watching. I think I'm going to say this right. Urian Timber. I think it's Urian. Oh my
Yep.
god, I got it right. And also, sorry, very remiss of me. Hello, everybody on audio, because I was trying to remember that there's so many people that listen to us on audio, and please rate us and star us as well. And you lot in the chat room, have you pressed like yet? You know, we're having this little competition to see how quick we can get up to about 100 likes. Chris, you went as well. You sent us a lovely video actually that I posted on the Same Old Arsenal Twitter, and it was you walking down Wembley Way. Got me a little bit jealous because I've always go to Wembley when we're there, and you look like you had a great time.
I had a great time. Do you know what? Inside the ground, I had a frozen margarita. Now, that is something that I would never have expected from a football match. I'm used to turning up at the Emirates and getting an overpriced Catterton Hells at half time in a plastic glass.
Yeah.
But I had a lovely old frozen margarita at half time. 4 Budweisers for 22 quid. I'm thinking, what is this? I went to get a program, and one of the gents, I took my boss along. We got a few tickets. And he said, I need to get a programme for a friend. I was like, I wouldn't bother. It costs you about 15 quid these days. £5 for a programme. It's like rolling back the years. I remember going to the last FA Cup final that we had where the fans were in the stadium and paying something like 12 quid for a programme. So absolutely delighted. I mean, I've not even talked about the football on the pitch, but yeah, it was a lovely old afternoon in some of the sunshine as well.
So Phil wants to know, were you mobbed by your podcast fans, Chris and Cookie?
We don't have any fans, so
no, we just mobbed each other.
People that sympathy tune in to listen to us waffle on post matches or pre matches. This is so, but no.
And Barnaby, welcome to the show, our United fan who's also going to do predictions, because I collared him on Twitter today and said, come on and give us your Man United predictions, because that'd be interesting. So boys, yeah, great win. You must have gone mad when old Vieira, who I rate, and I said in the summer was going to prove it this year, scores the winner and Arsenal go mad. And, you know, you can just imagine that all the celebration police were really happy for us. Honestly, you can't win anything anymore. Every Arsenal fan knows it's not a trophy. We're not idiots, but let's enjoy the day, for God's sake. It was just that I think what rival fans don't get, boys, is that we can't beat City. So when we do go and beat City, it's a massive thing. And we beat City. And I agree with you, James. I do think we deserved it. It was great. Yeah, lovely to start off. Lovely to beat them. Nice celebration. Lovely to hear North London forever at Wembley as well. I was hoping they were going to do that. And yeah, we move on to, well, we've all had a bit of a busy week. Let's start with you, Chris. First off, you were on the Arsenal Opinion Pod. I haven't had a chance to listen to that yet. So how did that go?
Yeah, it was really good. We talked about some really interesting things, like the imminent arrival of David Raya.
Yeah.
What impact that could have. A few sort of slightly left of field opinions from a few of us. Things like, are we going to swap goalkeepers in between a few sets of matches? So everyone's thinking that, you know, you've got Ramsdale in at number 1, but when Raya comes in, depending on the opponents, do we want somebody who's a bit more accurate with his long ball distribution? Yeah. So some really interesting conversations there. One of the lads there, Liat, got into a very excitable monologue on Urian Timber, and I tell you, it got me even more excited because I remember I sat next to Giles at Wembley at the weekend, and I just turned to Giles at some point in the first half and said, I think I'm a little bit in love with Urian Timber, because that guy can play anywhere. That guy can play anywhere.
It honestly, Cookie, Urian Timber is just, well, we're going to go into it. Actually, let's go into it. Let's just talk about what we've all been doing. So on the same night, our James was videoing the AST 20-year anniversary event, which I was supposed to go to, and so was Chris. But I was on a podcast, which I'll talk about in a second. But you were there, Cookie. It looked fantastic.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, the AST is the Arsenal Supporters Trust, and it was their 20th anniversary this week. And yeah, it was a really, really, really fantastic event. And I've got to give a shout out to Akil, who, we found out on the night organised the event pretty much single-handedly, having to do the budgets and the organisation. And there's some really, very well-known people there that, Roman Kemp hosted it. They had Darren Farley, the comedian. They had Bakary Sagna there, Nigel Winterburn. And all round, it was just a really relaxed, enjoyable evening. Obviously, to be working on it as well, it's just an absolute privilege for me. And I've got to say, Bakary Sagna in particular was the one that stood out. I thought, in terms of everyone there, I mean, everyone there was excellent, but he was the one guy that I just thought, really intelligent bloke, really, heart is in the right place. I know he moved to Man City. I don't think that was ever under, bad blood, bad circumstances. But he's a very, very well-meaning guy, very intelligent. And the event, excuse me, was just fantastic.
Just talking about Bakary Sagna, I've got a little story about his family. So when the first time I ever went to the Etihad, my friend had a box, and I was in a box. And the first time I've ever seen us play up north, and we beat them. Remember the Giroud and the Monreal penalty and all that. So of course I'm in a city area. The whole boxes are all city, and they told us that if Arsenal scored, I had to run in. I wasn't allowed. They came in and checked to see if there was any Arsenal fans. I was allowed to be there, but I wasn't allowed to celebrate outside. So I didn't know the family next to me were Sanya's family. I didn't know. So as Monreal's been brought down and we score, I can't remember who scored the penalty. I remember Vincent Kompany taking out Monreal. We score. I've run in. I've got no choice but to run in the box and scream my head off. I've come out. They've looked at me and they've gone like that. So I was like, okay. They do realise I'm Arsenal. Anyway, I thought nothing of it. We then scored in the last few minutes, Giroud. I didn't care then if I got chucked out, weren't bothered at all. I celebrated outside. And I was going mental. And all the City fans in front of me, because I was completely other end to the Arsenal fans, were all looking up. Couldn't care less. My mate was trying to drag me down, but I was singing the Giroud song like it was fantastic. And one of the family came up and said, "We're Arsenal. We're Sanya's family." I was like, "Oh my God, this is like, I didn't know who they were, but they kept putting their thumbs up." So I truly believe that the whole family are Gooners. And I think going back to the AST, I've been a member for about 10 years, I think now. I go to all the events that were held way before COVID. And then after COVID, it was a lot of Zoom stuff. And what Akil only does is nothing short of phenomenal. The events he puts on, and generally they are, James, they are all produced by him. He sorts everything, and he's wonderful. And the guests he does get, and I'm going to watch it because it looked brilliant, and it just looked really, really interesting. But it was a shame, but I'd already committed to going on the red side of the Trent pod, and I didn't realise it was the same evening. So that night I was on their pod, and the Matt Turner news broke about him going to Nottingham Forest, and God forbid I say Notts Forest, because apparently it's illegal. You can't say it. So every minute I'm going Nottingham Forest like this. It was quite funny, really. And he was asking me about Matt Turner and what he was going to get in a goalkeeper, and they're pretty nervous about coming here on Saturday, which we'll go into. Really good pod, really good. It's called The Red Side of the Trent, if anyone wants to listen. Chris, what's your pod called again that you were on?
That's the Arsenal Opinion podcast. That's the one done by Pete from Ligrove and my mate Johnny Cochran. Oh, my old schoolmate Johnny Cochran's on it as well.
So really good. So all of us were really, really busy that night, weren't we? It was just great. I'll tell you someone else that's been busy, shall I? Young Albert, friend of the show, friend of ours. And all of a sudden, Sky Sports News, up pops Albert. Albert, I am so proud of you. You know this. I've told you this about 10 times. Albert was called on to talk about, I think, the David Raya transfer. Have you boys seen it yet?
Well, I know that it hasn't come. It's not come through yet because apparently he did his medical. The noises where he's doing his medical today, and he supposedly it was at Wembley at the weekend. So I suspect it'll be announced tomorrow.
Yeah, but have you seen Albert on Sky Sports News yet?
Yeah, he did a fantastic job.
Have you seen it, Cooks?
I have indeed. Big up Albert, as he always says.
Yeah, honestly, and they were on the podcast with me Sunday evening. I said James and LL Cool J and Albert, and he didn't even tell us. Didn't even say it was going on. It must have been so good. Albert, well done, darling. No, I did not. Did you give Albert media tips, Amanda? No, because I'd be useless. I've only ever been on Sky Sports, I think, once or twice, and I was arguing with a Tottenham fan, and it was actually quite funny. But yeah, big up to our Albert. He absolutely did smash it. Really, really proud of him. So, boys, through the summer, unfortunately, um, Jesus got injured. And does anyone know, either of you two, have you heard anything about how long he's going to be out for?
3 to 6 weeks, isn't it? I think it could be as long as 6, but I reckon it will be about 4. That's what I'm bracing myself for.
Chris, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's what the noises are. They didn't seem to be too fussed about it. And bearing in mind, that broke 2 weeks ago. So my hope is that if he's going to be missing for this weekend and next weekend, he's back for the following weekend, which I think is Fulham at home.
Oh, do you think he'll be back that soon? Do
My
you?
hope, yeah.
We're in August. Oh, wow. I was thinking more the end of September. But you know what it's like with Arsenal sort of medical situations? They sort of go on a little bit further. Okay, talk about the Havertz, Timber, Rice, and soon to be Raya, James. How does that make you feel that they have all signed for us?
Yeah, really good. Raya coming into the mix as well, honestly makes this transfer window impeccable. Like, you've got to give your props to Edu Gaspar. I mean, I'm tipping my multiple hats to him because he's done an unbelievable job this summer. And the icing on the cake really is that Raya deal, the structure of it, the loan followed by the fee. I'd have been absolutely fine with the original proposed 27 million plus 3 million adults. That was fine to me. But the fact it's a loan and then we're going to be, I think it will definitely turn into an obligation to buy because it's based on appearances. But that is an unbelievable bit of business. And you have to say credit to Brentford as well for being flexible and actually allowing that deal to happen. You can't quite say the same for West Ham, who are so difficult to deal with, but Brentford have made it happen. They've respected what David Raya wanted. He's an excellent addition. I think he's as good, if not better, than Aaron Ramsdale. And I love Aaron Ramsdale, but I think there is going to be such fierce competition between the two. I don't think he's coming in to displace him, but I think it's just a case of leveling the squad up once more. And I think Arteta just wants rivalries and competitiveness in each position. And you've got to remember Ramsdale's still very young. So, Raya on paper might be the better keeper, but when Ramsdale reaches his age, he could be surpassing him in that respect. So lots to be excited about. Rice, loved his performance against Man City. It was a solid 6.5, 7 out of 10, but just really, really solid. I think he's still getting used to that Xhaka role. And played really well. Timber, I'll let Chris wax lyrical about him, but he was unbelievable. I mean, everywhere on the pitch, just a really astute guy. It's hard to believe he's 22 years old because he looks so much older. He plays like he's so much older. And Havertz, I've seen mixed reviews of his performance in the Shields, but I thought he had a really solid game. I don't think he was, tearing up any trees, but he put himself about, physically really good, held the ball up, played other people into the game. It's just those opportunities where he should have put the ball in the back of the net. I think that one where he pirouetted and put it, quite low, I think that was a good save. He was unfortunate on that one. But the other one where Saka puts it on a plate for him and he just doesn't really do much with it, that's the one he really should tuck away. But he's getting opportunities. He could and should have scored 2. So if he can get in those opportunities against the likes of Forest, I think he's going to score goals. He's going to make chances for us. He's going to get assists. I know it's a signing that is really, going hot and cold with people, but I really do think he's going to hit around 20 combined goals and assists this season. I think he's a very good signing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I thought Havertz actually played well. We were talking about that on Sunday. I don't really get the mixed reactions. But just going back to Raya, Aaron Ramsdale's dad. So Gary Webster on Twitter said he thought it was awful to bring him in, that he's going to unsettle the whole team, blah blah blah. And I'm like, but surely pushing for places makes players better and want to go for it. Aaron Ramsdale's dad said this will push Aaron to greater heights. Or I think I said that, and I think he said it's always good to have a player to push you. So, Chris, are you okay with the Raya signing? I can't believe anyone wouldn't be, to be honest. We've got so many games.
Yeah, but the goalkeeping position is a bit of a different one. You're not going to suffer the same level of fatigue as a goalkeeper that you are as an outfield player. You're also less susceptible to injury as a goalkeeper than an outfield player. So I very much subscribe to the view that you have a number one goalkeeper and then you have a guy that can fill in case the worst kind of happens. I don't like Ramsdale got what he got. I'm not sure if he even got injured last season, and he's at the age where you don't expect him to get that injured. I do get the kind of giving himself a competitive level of pressure that is beneficial for him. And I do think that will probably help Ramsdale. And I think he himself has said, like, what spurs him on, particularly when you've got like the away fans chirping in his ear or home fans chirping in his ear when he's at away games, it kind of really galvanizes him. So I suspect Ramsdale will take this in the right way, but I don't believe that it's a scenario that will last beyond this season, personally. One of them will be gone this time next year, I reckon.
Okay, so Barnaby's just said Ramsdale and Ray are too good to be on the bench. So what's he going to do, Chris? What's he going to do? Is he going to do one for Champions League and FA Cup or League or what?
I don't know. I don't know whether he will do that. That's a really difficult one because you would have thought that Ramsdale would want to play in the Premier League and the Champions League. And he can play in the Premier League and the Champions League. Like I said, it's not like the same level of fatigue that you get from a wide forward or somebody that's playing in that fullback role that's got to do doggies up and down the pitch all day. I suspect this might open him up for David Raya to play in the Champions League, just purely to keep him ticking over on competition. But again, personally, I would have just kept with Turner, and I'm playing amateur sort of accountant here because I would have probably invested that money elsewhere. Like I think we need a wide forward or a centre forward as well. And I'm not convinced with Havertz, so I remain to be convinced. I'm happy to be open to be convinced.
Okay, so James, which keeper is better with their feet? Thank you, Yamara Guante, if I said that right. Welcome to the show.
So I think there's a real misconception going around recently that Ramsdale is bad with his feet. That is not true. He's actually very good with his feet. He does make a few haphazard passes, and there are a few times in the Community Shield where he came a bit too close for comfort with Haaland. I think that short game is where he needs to improve. Passing out from the back within 20 yards is where I think Ramsdale is weakest. And I think we saw that quite a few times last season. There were some goals that can be accredited to Ramsdale making mistakes in those situations. But his long balls, there was a time the season before last where he was firing balls over to Martinelli and every single one was landing on his boots. So that part of his game, the long passes, I think he is exceptional at. And I think Raya, if we're talking about right now, he is the better player with his feet. That is a fact. So you look at the stats, he is the better player with his feet. But I think that's what is going to make Ramsdale an even better keeper. And although it does sound kind of harsh to say, I am inclined to agree with Chris that in 12, 18, 24 months' time, I don't think these two keepers will be at Arsenal because they are too good to be sitting on the bench. And there is a clear hierarchy with goalkeepers. You've got your number one, you've got your number two, and even if David Raya is playing Champions League games, I mean, there's still going to be big gaps within the season where he's not going to play. And then when we come to the round of 16 in the Champions League, do you really want to be bringing a guy in that's coming in cold, having not played for a couple of months? So there's a lot to ponder about that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Raya playing some Premier League games. I think there could be scenarios where Ramsdale might have a slight injury. I think there was a time last season where he had a slight wrist injury against Liverpool. In those scenarios, perhaps we could see Raya come in just to give Ramsdale a rest. But again, I think with this signing, it's just about raising the level of the squad. I mean, we can't complain about having too many good players, right?
No.
And it will make one of the two of them better. So despite one of them potentially leaving further down the line, we will have a really good number one. That will happen. I'm very confident of that. So in answer to the question, Raya better with his feet, Ramsdale still very good with his feet, two goalkeepers, very good at a similar style of play. And I think that's why we brought Raya in.
Anything to add to that, Chris?
No, I don't think so. I think Cookie's hit the nail on the head there.
It is. I mean, the thing is, I had a theory, and I might be completely wrong. Okay, Cole thinks I'm wrong. Is that thankfully, Aaron Ramsdale's wife is pregnant, and she's due to give birth in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And there could be a thing where maybe Arteta's thinking there's going to be time where maybe he's off or he's up at night and things like that. I don't know. That his mind might not be 100% focused on it, and maybe I don't know. I could be wrong. Do you think I'm wrong? Does anyone sort of see where I'm going with this?
I think that's probably clutching at straws a little bit. These are elite athletes here, aren't they? I mean, they are trained to be professional. And if you think about what Ramsdale said in Players Tribune article, when his wife literally suffered a miscarriage, which was horrible news.
Yeah.
And then he literally a day or 2 days later played in that Tottenham game where he got kicked in the back. So I think these guys they're laser focused and trained. And so I don't think that's going to have as much of an impact.
Okay. It was just a theory because I don't really understand why we've got two really good goalkeepers. I get what everyone's saying. I sort of like, well, how long is he going to want to sit on the bench for? You know, but maybe there's something behind the scenes we don't know. Okay, I just don't know. But it is wonderful. Listen, it's wonderful to have. I can't moan, that's for sure. And to have Declan Rice as well. I mean, what a summer! I mean, what a summer! Is there anyone else, Chris, you wanted to buy? As in what position? I was asked this on the Nottingham Forest podcast, and I said a centre forward. Anyone else got anything to add to that?
I think that I can't really argue with that, and that's what obviously one of the big things around the one in, one out, one bangs that we did over the summer. Most people said exactly the same thing. They were looking at cashing in on Eddie or cashing in on Balogun and trying to get a different type of centre forward. I think that's the key thing for me. Like, we have numbers in striker position. We can play Gabriel Jesus, Leo Trossard, Havertz. At the moment, Balogun or Nketiah, looks like Balogun's going to go out the door. But I think that a lot of the players are very similar in style, stature, and approach. Whereas I think maybe the Havertz thing is the slightly different. It's the slightly different sledgehammer to crack the nut, so to speak. And maybe that's the reason why he's decided at the weekend he needs to play. At the weekend just gone, he needed to play Havertz because he was that big target man. I don't think we're going to do that this weekend because I don't think it's the right opponent for it, though.
Okay, it's interesting, isn't it? Because so we had pre-season, we got the Charity Shield, and then we start off. So let's talk about Saturday's game, and then we'll do a prediction, and then we'll go through the season's predictions. I mean, it would be very remiss of me not to mention the fact that when we get there on Saturday, I'm sure there's going to be a queue at the Arsene Wenger statue to even get a picture with him. I might have to wait 3 months before I even attempt to get a picture, but it's very fitting, isn't it, Cooks, to have a statue of Wenger outside the Emirates?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was one of the big talking points at the Supporters Trust event in the week. You know, it is overdue, let's be honest. I mean, he does deserve that at Arsenal, 100%. He's a man that obviously divided opinion towards the end, but brought us some of the greatest moments in our Arsenal supporting lives, brought the club its greatest moment. And it's right that he's cast in bronze. So it's a lovely gesture. I think everything about the stadium now is near perfect. The artwork, the feel of it, the fans, the statues, everything about the Emirates, it just feels like home now, which I think has obviously been something that's been quite hard to say for a lot of supporters. But I love going there now. I've since the Community Shield, I've been counting down the days, the sleeps until I get to go to the Emirates. I can't, and that's why I'm quite happy about it being at 12:30 because I actually get to go there, and it's it's not a long wait. I'm not having to wait till Sunday at 4 o'clock. We're playing first, obviously after the City game, but yeah, I can't wait, and I love the stadium. I mean, I would change some of the seats. I think the roof needs a bit of work, but wear and tear. But other than that, it's a really great ground.
And also, as Carl's just saying, they need to sort out the Wi-Fi or at least the 5G signal because it's terrible inside the stadium.
Well, I don't have that, but then I'm the stand-upper. The west side, I always notice when I'm walking around, I can't upload anything. So are you both west or not?
I'm
I'm
north.
North Bank.
Yeah, but you're sort of on the west side, aren't you, Chris?
I think so. Yeah, the side
Yeah.
that's closest to the armory.
Yes, and honestly, when I walk past there, I can't upload. But I think if you come over to our side, it's not that bad. It's not at all. I mean, this as you're saying, Cooks, the stadium it's got the beautiful artwork. I'm on one of it. Me and Arsene Wenger are around the corner to each other. Just saying. And I think with what they've trying to do, the only thing I'm very concerned about and what I'm going to truly miss is a season ticket. Now, I know I'm 54. I know I'm old. I get it. And on the last game of the season, I made sure I used my card on it, even though we could use the phone thing. But I think anyone older than me, 70s and 80s that go, if you haven't got a smartphone, I don't know how you're going to do it. So, but you cannot get in, Gooners, unless you've got it downloaded on your phone. Arsenal keep emailing me. They must be emailing everybody. I've got emails twice a day saying you've got to download it into your wallet.
I think
Um,
that's a really sorry, man. I think that's a really good point because there are going to be people going in their 70. I mean, my dad, if he was a season ticket holder and this
yeah,
happened,
and mine.
would not have a clue. There are going to be gooners in the 70s, 80s, maybe even 90s that have been going for years upon years upon years that will not have a clue how to do this. That is, reality. My dad would be petrified about doing this sort of thing.
It's
So,
not how to
I,
do it. It's whether you've even got a smartphone.
yeah,
All right, my dad does have one, but he didn't. He had one of those Nokias. What do you do? I mean, we're all okay. Yes, I know everybody's got a smartphone and will download it and stuff like that. But I was determined last season not to use it. Carl used it every time we went in. I used my card. But I've been a season ticket holder since about 1978, probably. And I used to have the book where we tore the ticket off and gave it in. And we used to collect vouchers for the FA Cup final from the programme. And it's all gone. Now, I understand why they're doing it because it's going to stop touts. I'm assuming that how would you do it unless I don't know how it's going to work. I'm sure they still will be able to get in and sell tickets, but I don't know how. Um, but anyway, everyone, Arsenal are saying you're not able to get in unless you've downloaded it. I'm doing a public duty and just telling everyone get it downloaded. I am sure there's going to be hassle and issues on Saturday, so probably get there a little bit earlier. You don't want to miss the kickoff because thousands of people can't get in. I know I'm old, but I am going to miss my season ticket. I'm
no, don't worry.
sorry.
I'm gonna miss mine too. I only had mine 5 years and it's already gone.
I know.
Nice little. You get nice little red leather book thing that the card comes
Yeah.
in. Mine's actually ripped to shreds, but didn't care. I did the same last season. I always took my ticket. It's like a ritual, but
Yep.
life
Yep.
moves on, I guess.
It does, and I understand, and we're going digital. And apart from that, the stadium does look incredible. We've got a beautiful anthem, North London Forever. We've got artwork all around the place. We've got statues. It'll never be hybrid, but it's becoming a wonderful place to go, and I can't wait. It's 2 more sleeps, and we'll all be at the Emirates. Let's talk about the game, boys. 12:30. Me and Chris are not happy about that. Cooks loves the fact that it's 12:30. I'd have loved a 3 o'clock Saturday against Nottingham Forest to kick the season off. I think it's going to be pretty warm, which will be nice. But failing that, I suppose we live then. I'm assuming we must be live on TV. At 12:30 must be BT or whatever the new channel's called.
TNT Sports.
See what I mean? BT's gone. It's TNT Sports, so that's going to be interesting. The 3 of us obviously are going. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere. Just want to mention one thing that I said on the podcast on the Red Side of the Trent Tuesday is that their atmosphere against us in May was the best I've ever heard down the TV ever. And I did say that I didn't even hear our fans. It wasn't no detriment to our fans. Their fans rocked it from minute 1 to over 90 minutes continuously because obviously they were trying to keep their team up. We lost, and it is that. But they are a little bit petrified about coming here. So, Cooks, what if you had the choice, and if you were Mikel Arteta, what team would you put out? Would be your first 11?
Really good question. I don't think there's a lot I'd be changing about the Shield. I think the only change that is up for debate is striker. I'm really not sure who starts there because I know obviously we've got a lot of different options. I feel quite content with all of them, to be honest. I thought Eddie was really good when he came on. I thought Havertz was good for the time that he was on the pitch, and Trossard has been impeccable this season pre-season. So I'm relatively comfortable with any of them starting. I think the midfield picks itself: Rice, Odegaard, and Thomas Partey, who was excellent, by the way, against Manchester City. I think it could be interesting in the sense that Arteta might view this as a game where he doesn't necessarily play Rice and Partey. He might play one or the other and have someone like Havertz playing alongside Odegaard. I personally don't think he'll do that. I think Sunday was a trial run of what we're going to see for the majority of this season, and it's what I would go with. But again, I think I'm kind of contradicting myself. But I actually think you've kind of got to shoehorn Trossard in somehow, and it could be a case of not start Martinelli, who had a quiet game against City, let's be honest. Had a fantastic pre-season. I've got no doubts about the guy whatsoever. But I think to have Trossard start on the left, Martinelli to come on in the 60th, 70th minute, and then either Havertz or Eddie up top, I'd have no problems with that whatsoever. So they're the only ones that I think are up for debate. Other than that, I think the team pretty much picks itself. I've got no issues with Timber starting again at left back. He was fantastic. Gabriel Saliba, monsters in the game against City. White at right back. I mean, again, another one that stood out. Ramsdale between the sticks. Nothing changes on that front for me. I'm not sure if Zinchenko's back, but he doesn't get in the team anyway right now. So lovely problems to have. Quality in abundance. I'll be quite happy with whatever 11 he puts out. But I think the one caveat for me is Trossard has to start.
So interesting. You said Zinchenko's out. He wouldn't get into the team anyway. So you wouldn't pick him if he was fit?
Not in a minute. No. And that's not to say that, I'm disregarding Zinchenko. I just think Timber has been that good. He did not look out of place at all in the game against Manchester City. And, that's not a position that he played at all, really, for Ajax. So I would keep him in there. And then gradually, especially coming off the back of his injuries, Zinchenko just slowly integrated back into the team. But we all know how good Zinchenko is. When he's firing, he is unbelievable. And I think he is probably a bit more comfortable slotting into midfield. So when he's fit, when he's firing, I think he'll be the guy that's starting. But right now, I would be going with Timber.
Do you agree with what he's saying, Chris, or anything to add?
Yeah, I think the team pretty much would be what it was. I would take Havertz out and play Trossard as the false nine, because I seem to recall when Trossard joined and he started to get a few games, the relationship that he built up with Gabriel Martinelli was actually quite a good one. And he was more, Martinelli and Trossard felt like it was a little bit more fluid than Martinelli and Nketiah. So I do think that would be the option. And also, Kai Havertz is, it's a certain type of game plan that we played against Man City, but I just feel like in those tight, smaller spaces, because I think Forest will sit deep in probably a 4-5-1 and look to break, we're going to need to basically try and unpick a lock. They're missing a few players, actually. I don't know if you guys know this. Do you think Turner will actually play this weekend? Because according to the Premier League injury table that I look at, premierinjuries.com, Wayne Hennessy is out. They haven't signed Dean Henderson, so I don't even know who their centre half will be. Their goalkeeper will be. So it wouldn't surprise me if they threw Turner back in. But I just hope Arsenal have said to them, the only way with this deal is going over the line is if he doesn't start. And they've said, all right. The other thing that's interesting is the guy that scored for Forest last season, Taiwo Awoniyi. I can't say his Awoniyi. Awoniyi, yeah, that's it. That's the guy. Apparently, he got an ankle sprain and is touch and go whether or not he'll play. I mean, it was a spawny goal, wasn't it? He booted it against Gabriel for their 1-0. But if he's missing, then I don't know who they'd play as their centre forward. But Morgan Gibbs-White, obviously, as a one of their playmaker players, could be a threat.
Well, that's what the Forest fan was saying on Tuesday. He said, we've got some injuries. If Turner signs, he could be playing. And I said, you're going to park the bus, aren't you? He said, absolutely. I said, well, if we get one, you're going to have to come out. And I said, I don't think you can win on Saturday. And I didn't mean it as in win the game. I mean win. Because if you sit back and we break you down, then you've got to come out. And then when you come out, we're going to score. And if you let us come at you, we're going to score. I feel very positive. And I think everyone feels quite quite positive about Saturday. So let's go with some predictions. I'm just going to
Before
let
you
you
do
know.
that, actually, can we
Yeah.
talk about what Carl's just said in the chat?
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
the rule changes, I think,
We spoke about this
talking
on
about
Sunday. Go on.
talking about the time wasting, this is the sort of game where Forest park the bus. If it's 0-0 on 70 minutes, that's where you want to see. That's when we want to see the board go up and saying, right, well, it's 12 minutes of added time, because I'm sick to death of goalkeepers going down and hamstring, holding their calves or whatever it is. Let's have a strong referee that actually says, no, I'm going to add 15 minutes on because you just spent, your goalkeeper spent 12 of those 15 minutes taking a minute for each goal kick.
It's going to be tough, though, isn't it? Because we're going to sit there and they're going to go 23 minutes of extra time, and we've all got to get out because we've got functions or things to go to or trains to catch, especially if it's a late night game. If it's an 8 o'clock kickoff and they add on 20 minutes and people are going to miss trains. I do get it. And it drives me insane as well, Cooks, that, goalkeepers go down. I mean, especially last year, every team that came to the Emirates, bar City, I think, just wasted time, and it was so frustrating. But what you've got to understand as well, though, Chris, going back to that point, you've got to have a referee that does it properly. Because I'm telling you now, I was screaming at the referee on Sunday because Rodri seems to get away with everything and can get away with everything and gets away with everything, where we do one thing and we're booked. Now, if the rules are if you kick the ball away, that you're going to get booked, fair enough. But he needs to do it for everybody. And I think that, and also, I want to talk about this one as well, because this is true. Phil Macker, the 30-second rule is ridiculous. The fact that if you get kicked and you get injured and you go down and you get treatment, you have to go off the pitch for 30 seconds. That cannot be right.
I mean, I think the thinking with that is, I'm not condoning it anyway. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But they're looking at it from the perspective of, you get those players that, feign a head injury or, feign an ankle injury just to run the clock down. And I think it's an incentive to try and stop that. But on the flip side, if you're seeing out a corner and you've got a player that genuinely has taken a bad knock and they can't get back on the pitch to defend that corner, and you then concede from that corner, which will be a situation that happens this season, 100% that will happen, that is going to really spark a debate. And I think that's going to be one of those rules that we probably see phased out at the end of the campaign, because it is just so ridiculous.
And also, remember, a lot of things are opinion based. So if a player throws a ball away but meant to throw it to them and then it slightly goes over there, he's going to say, I didn't throw the ball away, and it's going to be a whole big thing. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with that. If you kick the ball miles off, of course, but something like that, I can just see what's going to happen here. And the fact that we got to wait 30 seconds, I get that. I do understand if they're feigning injury, I get it. But what happens if you get injured by someone? It's not fair, I don't think. And also,
that sorry, Amanda, that Partey yellow card at the weekend was ridiculous.
yeah,
Like, absolutely ridiculous. I get the rules have changed in that they're really knuckling down on kicking the ball away. But I mean, how far did he kick it? 10 yards at the very most?
But the problem is he did kick it away. So I didn't even know the rules had changed. And I was
He did,
screaming.
but when you're comparing that to some of the challenges that City made in that first
But
half,
that was
they
my
didn't
point.
see a yellow. That's
there's
where I
my
don't
point.
understand it.
They can bring all the rules they want in. If they've got absolute crap referees that don't, is consistency is got to be key. And the consistency of referees is not. And this is not me standing here already making excuses for referees against us. It's against everybody. I've watched terrible decisions all through the league last year, everywhere. You just want consistency. If you're going to book a player for kicking the ball away, you book them all. How comes Rodri did not get booked?
Invincibility.
How did he get away with it? But anyway, right, let's go back to Saturday because you're winding me up now, boys. You knew you were going to do this if you spoke about referees.
Just out of interest, Simon Hooper is the referee.
About VAR, for God's sake. Oh, my God. Right, go on.
Simon Hooper is the referee for the game at the weekend. The last game that he refereed, which was an Arsenal game. Do you want to have a guess? Or do you want me to just tell you?
Just tell me, I won't guess.
Arsenal 3, Southampton 3 at the Emirates. He gave away us a yellow. He gave Southampton 5 yellows. The game before that, and it was the only other game he refereed, was the 4-2 win at Aston Villa. And that day he gave us 2 yellows. He gave Villa 2 yellows. And I think he added on a fair bit of injury time for Emi Martinez's time-wasting antics. So interesting to see how it unfolds at the weekend.
Just a quick one, and we'll finish on it. Do you believe what Robert Stevens saying? Referees should be mic'd up.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Even if they just did it for one game, that'd be absolutely brilliant. I would like to hear the conversation that goes on when VAR is being checked. You know, I'm not so. I would love referees to be mic'd up and we'd get to hear that dialogue. But it'd be great. Can you imagine in the stadium if you could hear what referees are saying when things go to review? And I think as
It
fans,
would go
we have a
mental.
we have a right to hear that sort of stuff. I think.
It would be
Controversial.
interesting. It would be, but
Melissa has just popped in the chat. She's absolutely right. I don't know what I'm talking about. It was Simon Hooper that did the Forest game right at the end of the season. It's actually Michael Oliver. So
even better.
Please disregard every single stat I just said about Simon Hooper because it's completely irrelevant.
Well, Matthew does not agree with you, Cookie. He said Cookie can't have it both ways. If refs apply interpretation, they're accused of being inconsistency. If they book everyone for kicking it away, it's deemed draconian.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. The one I just don't understand how Partey can kick it away. Okay, yeah, it's petty in the name of the law. It's going to be a yellow card in today's rules. But if you look at the challenges City made, how dangerous they were, and they didn't see a yellow card, that's where I don't understand it. If I saw consistency across the board and City got yellow cards for what they did in the game, and Partey got that yellow card, no issue at all. But it's because they're not doing it to the opposition. Yeah, there's no consistency. That's what frustrates me.
I agree with you. Right, let's go on because we've got quite a bit to cover yet. Can I have everybody in the chat room? Let's have your predictions for Saturday, please. Cookie, what are you going for? And by the way, you two, you don't know, but I've got a book. It's a podcast book. Every episode's going to be in here. So that's the first one I did with James and Albert. I write everything down so nothing can be said at the end of the season. Go, oh, I never said that. It's going to be written down. So Albert went 3-1 on Saturday. LL Cool J did 4-0. I've gone 3-1. That's my prediction. I put the predictions up in the chat room, but Chris, what's yours?
2-0 to the Arsenal, which is an interesting one because in the last 33 matches, going back to last season, we've only had 8 clean sheets. However, how many of those 33 matches had William Saliba in it? So a nice solid, it's the sort of game that my hope is that a nice early first 15-minute goal and then maybe one before half time and then we coast for the second half. That's what I'd like. A nice, easy sort of afternoon in the sun.
Right, you've got, what did you say, 2-0? Yeah, I'm writing it down because I don't do technology. I'm old. Cookie.
I think it's really important that not only we keep clean sheets this season because we didn't do enough of it at the Emirates last year. We got some good ones on the road, but at home, definitely didn't get enough, even with Saliba in the team. But also, I think we need to start trouncing teams. As disrespectful as that might sound, Forest at home is a game where you need, if you can, obviously, on paper, it looks like a game where you could win 4-5-0. Game state says that might not happen. They could have a really good game. It might take a long time to break them down, and you could be really happy with a 1-0 win. But I think against this opposition, given they've got injuries, given they've not had a great pre-season, given that we're going into this game effectively with everyone fully fit apart from a couple like Jesus, I'll be disappointed if we didn't win. Well, I'm going to go 4-0 Arsenal.
You've got the same as James. Okay. We've all gone for wins. Me and Albert think we'll concede a goal. The three of you don't. So let's see what happens. But now comes the exciting bit, everybody. We're going for predictions for the whole season. So it's first, second, third, fourth, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, and who's getting relegated. So, Chris, I'm going to start with you. First, second, third, fourth. And I'll put up what people have said in the chat room.
I'm going to get some pelters here, but I think Man City will probably end up winning the league, as boring as that is. I actually think Liverpool are going to finish second because the reason I say that is because they can rotate. I think they've bought a few good players. They can rotate quite well because of the Europa League, which means that they can have more players fresh. And I don't think they'll have a terrible injury hit season as they had last season. And their end to the season last season was pretty formidable. So I think we're more likely to see a very competitive Liverpool side. And I think Arsenal will finish third. My hope is that it's better than that, but I think we will finish third. and I've got a feeling it'll probably be Man United in fourth.
Okay. Interesting. So, James, first, second, third, fourth from you, please.
Arsenal to win it, of course. I think we've got to. I think we've absolutely got to. If there's ever going to be a season, I think it has to be. Well, obviously, I was saying that last year, but it has to. It has to be this one. Team's too good not to win it. I think. I really do think, given the City have lost the likes of Gundogan and Mahrez, those guys that saw them over the line last year, we've really got a good opportunity to go all the way. But it's never that simple. Easier said than done. But Arsenal top, City second, third. I think these last two are really hard because there's quite a lot of teams that I think could finish in the top four. No one's talking about Newcastle. I think they've got a really good opportunity to do well this season. It's just seeing how they cope with Champions League football. I don't think they'll finish third. I will have Newcastle in fourth, though. I think they were excellent last season. But in third, I'm going to go with Liverpool. I know it's controversial to not have United in there, but I don't think their attack is as good as people are making out. Like, I think they spent a lot of money on banking on potential. I just look at Anthony, Rashford, and Højlund on paper, and we don't know how it's going to play out. I wasn't impressed by Anthony last season. Rashford was impeccable, but he's blown hot and cold in seasons gone by. What version of Rashford will we see this season? And then their midfield, I'm not going to go off on a massive tangent about Man United, but I'm just not entirely convinced by them. I'll probably end up eating my words.
Did you say City, Arsenal, Liv, and Newcastle?
Arsenal, top.
Oh, you did Arsenal top. Sorry. I was doing
Arsenal,
the comments.
City,
Liverpool,
Newcastle.
Okay. So I did this and someone's got the same as me. Hold on, I've just started. Let me see if I can find it. So these are mine, the same as Emerson. I've gone City, Arsenal, United, Liverpool. And I just can't put Arsenal top at the moment. I just can't do it. It could change through the season. And God, I'm praying. And I'm praying you're wrong, Chris, with thinking Arsenal are going to be third. Because, no, Chris, don't go there. Okay, so I've got Real Madrid to win the Champions League. So we're on Champions League now, people. What's your predictions just for the Champions League? Cooks?
Champions League. I know they didn't do too well in it last season, but I think Real Madrid will come back to win it.
Same as me. Okay.
I think with Bellingham in the team, I think they're looking like a formidable force. I'll go for them.
You got anyone different, Chris?
If Bayern Munich get Harry Kane, I think that could be a bit of a shout.
But just on Harry Kane, it seems that he might not want to go, and if he runs down his contract and leaves Tottenham for free and comes to Arsenal, I think that would be even bigger than Sol Campbell.
Sol Campbell came at 26 years old and ended up being the beginning of something magical. Harry Kane's going to be 30, 31 and probably on the decline.
Just the banter alone, that they'd get no money and he'd walk across to the red side would be just too funny. To sit on our bench, of course, Right, James, FA Cup.
FA Cup. Well, we're doing a double this season, so it's going to be Arsenal.
I've gone Arsenal for the FA Cup. Chris?
Full house. I think we might do it.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to jump in and say League Cup as well. And the reason why is because I think the strength and depth of our squad means that Arteta can rotate a bit more, which means that during those January and February months when we get into the FA Cup, we'll probably be able to field a very strong team that can get us through most rounds. Even if you think about some of the rotated players that played in the Man City game where we got knocked out of the FA Cup, I kind of think that if we played our rotated team now, which will be even a little bit stronger than it is now, we stand a chance. So I think we'll do a double. I think we'll do a league and FA Cup double. And that'd be nice. I get to go to Wembley a few times.
Yeah, love it. So Barnaby Jones thinks Man United are going to win it, funny enough, considering he is a United fan. Okay. All right. So you've gone for a double, aren't you, Chris, on the League Cup? I've gone for Newcastle for the League Cup. That's where I think they're going to win. James?
League Cup. Chelsea. I think they all put a lot of eggs in that basket.
They've got a lot of bloody eggs, to be fair.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they're going to go all out for it.
Okay. Right. And Barnaby said, please appreciate, I said Arsenal would win the Champions League. Is that what you're saying? I'll take that, Barnaby. I'll take that. That is the one trophy I've never seen them win. That's the one we want. Right, relegation. I have gone Luton, Wolves, and Bournemouth. Chris.
Luton,
Okay.
Sheffield United, and I think Bournemouth as well. I think Bournemouth's decision to bin off Gary, what's his name, Gary O'Neill, was a stupid one. The only question I would have there, though, actually, that's fine. Yeah, Bournemouth.
Okay. I did think Everton, actually, but I think they're going to be a little bit stronger this
Not
year.
under Dyche,
Yeah.
and actually Gary O'Neill with Wolves, because Wolves is the other one. But Gary O'Neill, he did something with that Bournemouth side that I never thought imaginable by keeping him up. So I can see him doing the same with Wolves.
Look at Barnaby with his 18th, 19th and 20th. He's actually predicted where they're going to come. Right. Oh, we got Rich the Gooner saying West Ham is in there. Burnley from Emerson, Luton and Sheffield United. Okay, James Cook, what were you going for?
I think it's about high time West Ham get relegated. So I would have them in there. And then I think it's hard to look past Luton. Unfortunately, I just can't see them staying in the Premier League. And then I think it's a real toss-up between Sheffield United and Wolves. But given the news that Wolves have just got rid of their manager, I think they're in a dire situation, to be honest. We all know that, especially with relegation, all it takes is for clubs to get a new manager in with about 8 weeks to go. And it just changes the entire course of the relegation battle. But I think, Wolves just don't know what they're doing right now. And if they don't don't get their house in order soon, then I think they're destined for the drop.
Okay, so we've got West Ham, Wolves. Who's your third one?
Luton.
So we've all gone Luton. We all think that. Although you know what's going to happen.
Sheffield United.
You did. No.
Yeah,
I've
other than
gone
me.
Wolves. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Do you know why I thought about Sheffield United? I think when it comes down to it, their grit will get them through. I think they'll be there or thereabouts.
They've lost a few players. Their manager today is talking about how people around the city, he's been wandering around talking to people, and they're all like, it's not looking great for the start. I'm not optimistic. So anyway, carry on.
Okay, so we have done all our predictions for the season. We will come back to them, I think, in 6 months. I think that's what we'll do. We'll come back. I've written them all down, so no one can say they didn't say anything. And we're all back to the Emirates on Saturday. So, Chris and Cooks, anything else you'd like to discuss before I close the show?
I don't think so. I think the only pondering thought to leave us on is, does Arteta know his best team?
Does he need to know his best team, though?
Yes.
Does he, though? Like, given the options he's got?
Yeah, I think so. I think you need a stable set of probably 12 or 13. And I think he doesn't know 17, 16. But maybe that's the problem we had last season. And that's what cost us in the end.
I'm just waiting for you two to argue. I'm like sitting here loving it.
No.
I love having my boys back.
I think we're pretty settled. I don't think there's too much that's up for debate. I think goalkeeper obviously is one that's going to come into the spotlight more now. Defense picks itself, apart from obviously you've got the debate between Timber and Zinchenko now. Then you've got players like Tomiyasu, Kivior that can slot in. And then midfield, I don't really look past that midfield of Rice, Partey, Ødegaard. The two wingers pick themselves, and then it's just up top. I think that's the only one that we're not quite sure on yet. But when Jesus is back, I think that position is his.
It's exciting. The main thing that people keep talking to me about that are not Arsenal fans is our squad depth. The fact that that's what we struggled with last season. We feel like we've got a little bit now, which is fabulous. And honestly, Saliba is going to be world class. He is. Well, not yet.
Oh, no, he is.
This season he could be.
He is. He's
and
unreal.
Fiona, who's just put a lovely comment up, We wish you well, as you know that we've said this to you, and you're going to be strong and you're going to get through it and you're going to kick its arse. I'm telling you, Fiona, you've got this. And we wish you well from everyone at the Same Old Arsenal. Okay. Everybody, we are back Sunday evening. Put this is in your diary because generally, if we play on a Saturday, even a Sunday, unless we're there, it's 4:30 kickoff at home, but 7:30 Sunday evening is going to be our normal slot. We are going to say goodnight, but before we do, and Chris and James, have you got anything else to say?
Nope.
No, all good from me.
We're all looking forward to going to the Emirates, aren't we? Guys and girls, I've just got a little thing I'd like to read out. Please bear with me, but we will be finishing the show straight after. And I have to read it. So, last week, a friend of mine, Lester, passed away. He was a husband, father, brother, son, and a gooner too. His daughter Natasha is a big gooner, and on Sunday after her father was buried, she and the family watched the Charity Shield and wore their Arsenal shirts too. When we won, they said it was for Leicester, and unbeknown to them, I said exactly the same thing to my other half. Leicester had been in my life for over 25 years, although not a close friend, a very close acquaintance. We worked in the same industry and we crossed paths a few times, which meant working together. We always had a laugh and a catch up, and Natasha and my son were at school together too. Leicester was a great guy, a lovely man, taken far too early from his family and friends, and will be truly missed. Leicester, we are dedicating this episode to you. May you rest in peace and may your memory always be a blessing. Good night, everyone.